It's election season in India, and it's really hotting up as far as the election results are concerned. There's a particular political party with an absolute motto saying "Ab ki baar 400 par." Equivalent to that in the IPL, this year we've had slogans of "Ab ki baar 300 par." We don't know whether we'll get to 300 or not. What we do know is "Ab ki baar KKR is in the finals of IPL 2024, and joining them are going to be either the Sunrisers Hyderabad, or we're going to have the Rajasthan Royals, because Royal Challengers Bengaluru's travels in this IPL have come to an end. So they've become the first team to be eliminated from the playoffs of IPL 2024. Sarvesh, it's been a long tournament. It's been a arduous tournament. It's been a very difficult tournament for RCB. They showed us a real glimpse of coming back with six in a row, but it was not meant to be for them
I
this
think
year.
they will take a lot of positives from this season. Nobody thought that they would qualify, so I think from there to here, I think they have done a remarkable job. Even today, things were looking straightforward for Rajasthan Royals at the end. They required 18 from 18 in 3 overs, and despite that, they managed to sort of managed to go to that second last over, and they still had hope because they got 2 wickets in that third last over. So I think this has been happening throughout the season. They were pushed against the wall, but they still managed to have their movements. They still managed to make good comebacks, and from there they this particular day where I felt they were probably 20 runs short, 20 runs below par. But despite that, the kind of fight that they gave today, I mean, credits to them. First 172, I felt they needed 195 at least, or close to 200. That did not happen. But again, they have done a remarkable job this season, and again today they showed some fighting spirit.
In many ways, T20 cricket is a game where it is difficult to maintain a winning run,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
Because if you look at both the teams today, RCB coming off 6 wins, Rajasthan coming off 4 losses, which meant
yeah.
that the law of averages was going to catch up at some stage. Rajasthan were due a win after having 4 losses. RCB were due a loss after having 6 wins, and I just got the feeling today that whatever RCB tried to do in today's game just didn't work. I mean, that scorecard in itself tells you a story. Lots of starts, lots of people getting runs, but not one of them going on to get that big match defining score.
Yes, I mean, you'll see Rajat Patidar scoring 34 runs, but even he was dropped a couple of times against that mistimed shot that he played against Ashwin that should have been caught. Yashasvi Jaiswal dropped a difficult one on Chahal's bowling. So I felt when your top scorer is basically scoring just 34 runs, and despite those 34 runs have come despite those drop catches, that tells you that the entire team sort of struggled to get beyond those starts. So you would expect somebody to get to 40s, 50s, 60s, but that was not happening today. Glenn Maxwell again is having a pretty tough time at the moment. So they needed some player to stand up, and Virat has been doing this for a long time now. This season, entire season, he has been carrying this team. Rajat is also doing this similar thing from that middle order, but that entire team, you just don't see that big score from somebody. It had to come. That did not happen again, and that particularly reflects in that score 172 for 8. Had Rajat Patidar gone on to score a quick 55 or 60 runs, that could have made a difference of at least 15 to 20 runs. Who knows? And they could have probably been in a better situation by the end of the day.
I guess the only thing to talk about from a very big positive kind of way is the form of Virat Kohli. He is the orange cap holder, scored a lot of runs. We've seen a different kind of intent from him in that power play. We've seen him bring out the slog sweep
Yeah,
quite a bit in this tournament.
yeah,
But as they say, if you play by the sword, you
yeah,
can die by the sword as well.
yeah.
And today proving to be his downfall. It is a big ground. I've been to Ahmedabad, I've watched games over there, and those square boundaries are quite massive. And yeah, just I think he timed it well, but
Yeah.
just didn't get enough elevation to kind of clear the fielder.
Yes, we have seen this before that he targets that mid wicket area in those middle overs, and he was doing exactly that. Like you said, probably he needed some more elevation, but again, it's a big ground where we see a lot of doubles being taken. So I think that is one factor that worked against him. And again, we have seen this even in the first game, even in the qualifier one, that team batting first, they found it difficult to get going, and then the team chasing, they had a pretty straightforward chase. They know what to chase. They were having a good time because I felt the pitch behaved a lot better in the second innings. In the first inning, they had to sort of take care of that early movement. I even saw Avesh Khan getting that reverse swing. Chahal had an average day, but Ashwin was bowling pretty well. So that tells you that conditions were in favor, not entirely in favor, but conditions were sort of helping the bowlers, and they had to negotiate against that.
One last question on that scorecard. We've seen Dinesh Karthik
Yeah.
time and again in this tournament come down the order and rescue that side with a quick fire innings or a cameo down the order. Today he came in slightly earlier than when he normally would. He played 13 deliveries. You'd expect him to get around 24, 25 in those 13, but he was really struggling. He said that this is going to be his last IPL, and he's hanging up his boots after this.
Yeah.
Not the best last game for him
Yeah.
with the bat, was it?
Yeah, I mean he has done a good job for them. I mean when RCB signed him in for this particular cycle, because let's not forget he was captain of KKR before, and then he was released, and then RCB sort of got him for somewhere around 6 crores. So I think many people had doubts over that signing, but I think he has proved everyone wrong. His form was brilliant last in that first year after the mega auction, that also earned him that call up for the call up for Indian team in the T20 World Cup. Again, he was in contention this year, so I think he has done well for them. And I think this sort of things can happen today. I mean, a lot of batters were struggling because of the slowness of the pitch. I think it's still, I mean, if you have to look at Dinesh Karthik's overall season, I feel he has done more than, more than what was expected of him. So I think no complaints there. I mean, these kind of situations, you are bound to get in.
Right, let's have a look at that bowling card because the struggles of the RCB batsmen. Now, two things stand out for me. Very rarely do you see a bowling card with two bowlers between them, and go for what's that, 20 and 35
Yeah.
between the two of them and pick up 3 wickets. Trent bowled, giving them that start once again with the new ball, bowling 3 overs in that power play. And then Ravichandran Ashwin
Yeah.
coming in the middle and bowling 4 overs for 19, picking up a couple of wickets. Normally, we see one bowler who stands out compared to the rest. It's very rare to see two. And when you have two bowlers giving you 35 of 8, picking up 3 wickets, that just tells you the kind of struggles RCB had there.
Yes, and I mean, you expect Bolt to give such starts. You expect him to pick up that early wicket. He didn't pick up that wicket in the first over, which he normally does. But again, that the kind of start that he gave, I felt RCB were sort of behind right from the early stage. After 7 overs, they were somewhere around 54, 55. After 9 overs, after 8 or 9 overs, they were somewhere around 70, 80 runs. I mean, they should have been closer to 100. But that was the impact of Trent Bolt and Ashwin. I mean, Ashwin. Let's not forget what Ashwin has done, because Ashwin was bowling to right-handers when Faf got dismissed. It was, I think, Virat and then Rajat. I mean, these guys are excellent players of spin, even Cameron Green. But he was not giving anything away to them. He was mixing it up. He was bowling his carom balls. So like Trent, Ravichandran Ashwin, he had a very good time today, and that sort of made up for the average day that Sandeep Sharma and Avesh Khan were having, because I felt Sharma had an off day today. He 48 runs for 1 wicket is not the typical Sandeep Sharma that we see, especially on a slowish wicket. But so I think Trent and Ashwin sort of so averaged that out, and Sandeep Sharma, and even Yuzvendra Chahal gone for plenty. So I think that's sort of averaged out for them.
Um, Good thing you mentioned about Yuzvendra Chahal. We saw Chahal doing absolutely what he's known for in the first half of the tournament, and we've seen in the second half of the tournaments his lack of form has kind of mirrored uh, Rajasthan's lack of form when
Yeah.
they've lost those 4 games. His figures have been ordinary. It's not rocket science that for Rajasthan to do well, they need Yuzvendra Chahal to fire. What do you think is going wrong?
I think I mean, even today he picked up that wicket, crucial wicket of Virat Kohli. So I mean, on paper the figures look bad, but I think he sort of did the job for them. And since Ashwin was doing the job from the other end, you expect they sort of had to go and take those extra risks again Chahal. So I think that slightly worked against him, but I mean, on a slowish wicket, on a pitch where on a ground where the boundaries are not the typical smallish boundaries, you expect him to do better. But again, he had an average day today, and you rightly mentioned that it has basically mirrored Rajasthan Royals' form. They both have been struggling in the last 6-7 games, and Chel's form hasn't been great. I just feel that this can happen in a tournament like this. I mean, no particular flaws. I don't see any particular thing which is doing wrong. Sometimes you just get into a phase where you just have to I mean, you just have to back yourself and keep doing what you're doing. And I think that's what he did today. That wicket of Virat Kohli, in fact, that was if you take another look at that was a wrong one. So Virat was actually hitting with the spin, but
with the
despite
spin.
that,
Yep.
yeah, despite that he got Virat out. So I think he should feel a lot better because of that wicket, because Virat staying had he stayed there for 3-4 more overs, and that would have made a difference of easily 10-15 runs. So again, fine margins, he would feel a lot better that he got Virat out. But I think, yeah, you rightly said, they need him to pick up his form again. They need him to support the other bowlers.
Yeah. I think Maipal Lomror got stuck into him as well a
Yeah.
couple of times,
Yes.
which kind of skewed his figures a bit. Well, 172, as we said, felt like it was about 20 runs short. The Rajasthan Royal batters came out all guns blazing. Jaiswal looked um, as good as he's looked all season. He looked like he was finding his form again. Um, a bit of a muddle in the middle when the wickets of Sanju Samson and Dhruv Jurel kind of fell in quick fire succession.
Yeah.
But then they always had enough firepower through Shimron Hetmeyer, Robman Powell to make sure they got home.
Yeah.
Even when we were sitting there watching the game and the equation was looking a bit tight, in my mind I was thinking, nah, they're still
Yeah.
cool because they've still got Hetmeyer and Powell to come, enough firepower to kind of
Yeah.
scale down any target.
Yeah. They missed Hetmeyer. I mean, didn't they? I mean, I think he was out for like 4-5 games, and their form sort of, just like you
Yeah.
mentioned about Chahal, their form, so they sort of lost their form. I think so. Hetmeyer coming back, adds a lot of strength to their lower middle order, because even Dhruv really is having a bit of a difficult season this time. He got to that half century earlier in the season, but I think he didn't get a kick on from that particular point. So I think Jurel needs to do he needs to do more from that middle order. But like you mentioned, Hetmeyer and Powell, these two guys, they are the designated finishers for them. And I think what we saw from them today, they sort of did their job. If you add the scores, they sort of scored how many? 42 runs
42.
from just 22 balls. So that's what the finishers do, and that's what they did.
Yeah. With the bowling itself, now Swapnil Singh, we've seen he's been opening the bowling for them. Um, Obviously, Yashasvi Jaiswal being a left-hander, the matchup wasn't
Yeah.
great. Do you think that had something to do with the fact, or was it just kind of because we didn't see him? He's been very effective for RCB,
Yeah.
but not so much today.
Yes. Again, I mean, Swapnil Singh, he had his cameo with the bat. I felt he must be feeling good about it, and that sometimes we have seen that basically gets uh, reflected in when you come and bowl. So I felt his first over again was good. I think he gave away only one,
Yeah.
2 or 3 runs. It was a very good over. But I think sometimes we have seen this, that whenever you have to take chances in that power play phase, you left-handers tend to take chances against the left-arm spinners, and that can sometimes work for you, because of those extra risks that those batters takes. But I think uh, Jaiswal, I think he had it covered today. I mean, he knew that he had to stay there. He knew the target is not that huge, so he took measured risk, and I think that sort of paid off. But I think still, despite that, he had a strong case for himself to bowl after power play. For some reason, that didn't happen. I don't know why he didn't bowl again, but I think even Cameron Green bowled 3 good overs, but again for the fourth over he got taken for plenty. So I felt
Yeah.
they sort of missed a few tricks here and there. probably one more over for Swapnil Singh, and probably just 3 overs for Cameron Green, because we have seen this last season as well for Cameron Green. He could be bowling those 2 or 3 good overs, and at the back end he gets found out. So I think they missed a few tricks there.
Yeah, there was a moment in the game where Glenn Maxwell dropped an absolute sitter, and it just showed because um, I was sitting there watching, and I said, "What has he done in this game? He's come to bat, he's got out first ball, he's it'd be injustice to call him a part-time spinner. He's actually
Yeah,
better than a part-time
yeah,
spinner, but he hasn't bowled a ball in this match, and then he's dropped a catch.
yeah.
How low is his confidence at the moment? Because he just can't seem to get anything right. And yet, when you see the Glenn Maxwell that plays for Australia,
Yeah.
that's a completely different Glenn Maxwell, isn't it?
Yes, he's having a very difficult season. Probably his worst in last 7 8 years, probably. Because I mean, the typical Glenn Maxwell is somebody who comes in and wins matches on his own, at least 2 or 3 games per season, if not 2 3, at least 2 games, and that's what he does. And he's basically known for playing blinders, but this season that hasn't happened. And last season we have seen him, doing so well. Last 2 3 years he has done a fair amount of uh, heavy lifting for them. This season they needed somebody to do that, but that didn't happen. And he's playing today because Will Jacks is not there. I mean, sometimes that also plays on your mind, that you are playing because somebody else is not available. I mean, you mentioned about his confidence. I don't think he's very high in confidence right now, but he's again one player who can just forget everything and just start playing like a different player when he turns up for Australia. So I completely expect him to do that again when he plays for Australia in the World Cup.
We've got the next game now coming up, which is going to be the qualifier for the final between SRH and RR. We've seen how the fortunes of both these teams have gone.
Yeah.
Um, we've spoken about the tale of two halves for Rajasthan Royals. SRH, on the other hand, we thought they'd do a lot better against KKR in that last game, but absolutely got blown away. Um, how do you see that eliminator kind of or qualifier, whatever you might call it?
Yeah.
How do you see that one shaping up?
I mean, if you look at the results till now, the team finishing first, they have reached finals. Team finishing fourth have now lost against team finishing third. So basically, what has
Yep.
happened till now is a true reflection of the league table. I mean, no injustice has been done there. So I think team number one is already there in the final. Now team number two versus team number three, and if you have to count on the current form, then I think SRH, you feel that they are in a better space right now. But again, you can never discard what discount from what Rajasthan Royals have been doing till now. So basically, what they could do against SRH, I mean, nobody knows which SRH will turn up on that day. Travis Head scoring 60 from 20 balls. Abhishek Sharma doing the same thing. A quick fire 50 from 15 20 balls. So I think this can happen, and I mean, that game, in my opinion, is going to be very volatile. It is very difficult to predict because we just don't know which teams are going to turn up that day. The Rajasthan Royals that we saw today, or Rajasthan Royals that we have been seeing in last 4 or 5 games, we just don't know. But for the sake of IPL, for the sake of neutral fans, I think I hope it's a good game. I hope both teams bring their A game to that game, because that's what you want. Teams fighting for that spot in the finals. You want them playing in absolute top gear. So I think, yeah, that's how I see it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a battle between the Rajasthan Royal bowlers and the SRH batters. The one who
Yeah.
comes on top in that contest is the team that's going to win. One last question. Virat Kohli's tournament is now over. He is still the orange cap holder, about 175 runs ahead of his nearest
Travis.
competitor, who's Travis Head. Um, do you think he'll finish as top run scorer? Because if he doesn't, that means SRH would have won that title,
Yeah.
wouldn't they? If Travis Head gets 175 in 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, even if Travis had scored 70 or 60 runs, I mean, that's basically a match winning 60 70. So 175 from Travis Head is basically title for SRH. You rightly mentioned that. I see Virat finishing as orange cap leader by the end of the tournament. But you know what I mean, just look. Since we are just looking at this scorecard. I mean, this Mohammad Siraj, I think, has done well. In last few games. So I think from India's perspective, I think his form is pretty crucial. I think he has done a good job. So I think overall, the kind of the kind of finish that RCB is having, you expect this to sort of reflect in on Indian team as well, because Rohit Sharma again, he got that crucial knock at in the last game. RCB have been doing well. Siraj has done well in the last few games. So I think it's a good news for Indian teams, Indian team fans. So I think it's a good closure for RCB. Not exactly a good closure, because they would have liked to get their hands on that trophy. That didn't happen. But but if you remember last time when we were discussing, I said that nobody will remember even if they lose the next game. They will basically remember how they went there, the 6 wins that they got before that, and I think that sort of helps you when you go into next few seasons. Because Mumbai Indians, they always get two difficult starts, but they just keep telling them that, listen, we did this back in 2015, we can do it again. So similarly, I think RCB fans will take a lot of confidence from this. They will believe that they could come out of any situation, any bad situation, and just keep going on. So I think that's the kind of season that they have. And then now coming back to that original question, I think Virat Kohli is going to finish as the leader in my opinion.
Yeah, you can look at history in two ways. You can either look at it and say we've done it in the past, so we can do it again. You could also look at it if you're a RCB fan and say we've never ever won it in the past. How are we going to win it again? So yeah, well, fingers crossed. We'll let the Bangalore fans celebrate
Yeah.
the victory of their women this year. They'll have to wait one more year for their men to lift that trophy, hopefully. Anything else to add before we wind up for today's show and come back when we have the next game?
No, I think now we'll go to Chennai, and we are hoping to have a cracker of a game. Team number 2, team number 3 fighting against each other. I think I'm expecting a good game.
Absolutely. It's going to be hot in Chennai. It's going to be humid, and we
Yeah.
hope that the CSK supporters turn up in large numbers for that game. We'll be back here to bring you all the action from that one. Hoping for a good game. If you haven't followed us or liked us, do that on those social media handles and subscribe to our YouTube channel. But until next time, this is your host, Rahul and Sarvesh, saying goodbye from the Sneakometer podcast. Thank you so much for watching.